And good morning to you. Welcome back to the morning show. Almost 7 minutes after the hour here. We are in much needed rain. You know, the whole state's been in a drought, and it's been raining slowly. And I don't know how much rain it's going to take to help us get back to the appropriate water table. But the rain is welcome. And I've been talking to some of my friends, and their yards are looking greener. And so we're not divvying into PwC's resources there, so that's a plus. Anyway, also today would be the last day of public schools here in Cumberland County, so I think at noon most of them will be closing out, with the exception of year-round schools. And so those youngsters are going on break. I hope they retain what they need to retain during the summer, so when they come back in the fall, they'll make some great successes. Very excited about what's going on in some schools because they're trending in the right direction. Had the opportunity, you know, this year to be a volunteer to Beer Hefner, which is a community school, a neighborhood school in the Montebello neighborhood there off of Cliffdale Road. And it's just doing marvelous stuff out there with Dr. Zakia Backman and her staff. But you'll hear more about that as time moves on. Back to this morning, we have Councilmember Brenda McNair, along with
Assistant City Manager Jeff Yates.
Yeah, Jeff Yates, and also we have the city manager, and that is Dr. Douglas Hewitt.
Good morning. Good morning.
And good morning to you also, Councilmember McNair.
Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Excellent. Okay, well, look, they're going to be talking budget stuff with you on today, and I'll be asking them some questions, and also some of that would be directed by Councilmember McNair. Let's start off with, okay, for the regular citizen, they don't understand, because actually sometimes I don't even understand what goes on in the budgeting process and how we arrive at a point where you all present something to the legislative body. In North Carolina, as in most states, you have to have a balanced situation. They don't operate like the federal government. They can go in debt and be in the red, and thank God, because they probably could be doing what some of the feds are doing. We're trillions of dollars in debt, and I understand that every minute, it's incredible how much debt we're in, that if you calculate it by the minute and the hour, how vicious that is. But again, they are required by law to have a balanced budget. And so the internal workings of what goes on at City Hall with individuals such as Mr. Yates and Dr. Hewitt, they come up with whatever they come up with, and at some point they present it to the legislative body, which is the City Council. So Dr. Hewitt, in explaining it like that, what goes on, and I guess you guys have to have a running start trying to prepare something. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you. And as always, thank you for having me, Councilmember McNair. I appreciate it, and it's always nice to see you as well, Troy. For the city, we operate under council manager form of government. And when I've been here before, we've talked about what that is, where you have an elected body who hire and appoint a professional manager to run the day-to-day operations. Part of that also requires that I serve as the budget officer, and by state statute, I'm also required to deliver to the city council a balanced budget, not just a budget, but a balanced budget. So in order for me to develop a balanced budget to send to them, folks like myself and Assistant City Manager Jeff Yates and all the rest of the team, we listen very intently throughout the year as to what the needs are of the community. But then we also go back and we go to Jeffrey really does with our finance team and comes back and says, what can we as a community afford? And that's always the push and pull that you'll see, whether it's the school board, the county commissioners, sometimes the state of North Carolina, not so much the federal government, as you said. They're more like, do as we say, not as we do. But here in the city of Fayetteville, we have to develop a balanced budget that must be presented to council. In order to do that, again, we listen very intently, and we start with the base services that we need in order to serve and create a sustainable city here in the city of Fayetteville. We don't do such things which are cute, which we've done in the past, And sometimes to a certain level where we do like zero-based budgeting, you hear people basically start from scratch as if everything's new and justify the programs. I don't have to justify the transit program. I look outside and see the people standing, waiting on the bus. I don't have to justify the police department. I know when I call 911 in my neighborhood because they're racing around motorcycles around the cul-de-sac, they show up. I don't have to justify the fire department because when my neighbor's house across the street caught on fire, I called 911 and the fire department showed up. I don't have to justify Parks and Recreation because we're going to be with Councilman McNair and the other members in the park, I think next month as well. Those services are evident. We see those.
It's June 7th.
June 7th. Well, okay. I didn't know if we'd add that in or not. Nice product plug. So we don't always have to do that. But what we do is we listen again very intently. We do it at things like Dug in a Dish. We do it at community watch meetings. We do it on our citizen survey. We do it to the citizens who come to the city council and talk to us. We also do it on national and state trends that we see which are coming here. We do it mainly, though, I do it mainly on what I get from the city council at their strategic planning retreat, which usually happens in January, February, where the council articulates for me and the community their vision for the city, their mission for our organization, their goals and priorities for the upcoming year, and that's what we build our budget around. And I have to do all of that and then go back to Jeff and say, okay, Jeff, we've got this long laundry list of things. How do we pay for it? And that's that constant tension that you see right now when I've delivered a balanced budget to the city council. My recommended budget is 47.95 cents, which is a 3-cent tax rate increase. But if the council, through their deliberative process, which they're underway right now, says we want to do more, we want to do less, myself and Jeff and the rest of the team are there to help.
Okay. Well, Jeff is nodding. So what about that, Jeff, that whole process? You guys have to have some background and crunching some numbers. I mean, because you got to be looking at all that stuff. And then I guess if Councilman McNair and others say, oh, no, then y'all got to go back to the drawing board.
Yes, sir. I think that that's correct. And as Dr. Hewitt pointed out, it's a long process that we start with. We've worked with the departments. To give you an idea, the budget is made up of about 60,000 lines of expenditures when you take it and break it down to its lowest level. And we work with all the departments, but our single greatest asset, and I think the biggest challenge that we always have, is most of our budget is dedicated to people. We pay people and we pay debt. The rest of it amounts to probably less than 30%. So I think that when we look at it and the challenge that, as Dr. Hewitt and I work through the recommendation, he ultimately decides what the recommendation will be to council, is how do we retain people to provide the services that we provide the residents as the residents enjoy. And I think I know as I was out with my wife and kids this weekend, we went to a fast food restaurant, and we used, everybody has their standard order you get at a fast food place, and it's the $5 you get a burger and chicken nuggets, and now it's $6.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing on the government side, same thing for us, is to provide that same service and get that same level of service that we enjoy today. It's no longer $5, it's $6. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we face as staff, is that push-pull for current services and the community's desire for additional services. So, and as Dr. Hewitt mentioned, we're in that deliberative process now where it really is up to council to decide which way they would like to go with that.
Yeah, and this is where I pass the ball off to Councilman McNair. You guys, as they stay in the deliberation process, then I would imagine, I don't know, but we have 9 districts, correct? And we have one at-large seat, which is the mayor. And people have their own particular interests, things they want to see happen in their districts. Some things are district-oriented, and of course, it affects Fayetteville if it's in Fayetteville, but still there are some things that are more, I should say, not global, but it's more county, it's more citywide than it is something that would affect that. But when you guys get in deliberation with those kinds of things, Councilmember McNair, explain to us what's happening with that.
I assume you're speaking of our individual desires for our district. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
All right. So I was thinking just on yesterday how we can easily begin to personalize this budget and make it what we want it to be. And so I thought to myself, there's a lot of things I would like to see in District 7. But however, I have to work together as a team, as a board, to make sure that we can afford what it is that I think that we need in District 7. And so just having that thought yesterday resonated with me kind of deeply because I am a visionary. I can wake up in the morning and step outside my door and see what it is that District 7 needs. But however, I still have to consider that we operate as a board, not individuals when it comes to the budget as a whole. I can present things to the city manager. I'm always on him and staff about what we need. But however, sometimes I get a little antsy and a little frustrated if I don't see it happening. But being a visionary, it takes time to see things grow, put in place because of funding. I mean, if we had all the money in the world, we can do whatever we want to at any given time. But that's not the case here. But what I feel sometimes is that the public doesn't understand the process of our budget season in Fayetteville. So I just want either one of you to just start from the beginning because it's a lot. Our budget season, it brings a lot of stress and pressure, especially on me. I don't know about nobody else, but I'm under a lot of pressure because I'm listening to 10 different people. Then I have to listen to staff, and then we have to listen to the public. I mean, Can you explain, Mr. City Manager Hewitt?
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that focusing in on your district that I think is also an issue across the entire city is also on code enforcement and livability of neighborhoods. When we look out on Rim Road, for instance, there are a couple of neighborhoods off Rim Road in that area that, absent your intervention, I knew they were there, but I'd never been way back in the back of them. And those are some areas that I know since your time on council, you have worked tirelessly to clean up some of those areas. When we look at 71st School Road, which is very close to your own home as well,
Yes.
We probably need additional infrastructure such as sidewalks
Yes.
for kids to be able to walk to school. My barber shop is at the corner of Cliffdale and Rim Road. I go to Murphy's 2 barber shop, which is all the way across town for me. It's a racetrack. So between police services and needs, an aging neighborhood, we've got stormwater concerns off of, and it always draws a blank to me what the name of that street is that we've been working on for so long, right there behind the cookout.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And is it Wayland Drive? I think it's Wayland Drive. Stormwater projects. Those seem, as Councilman McNair said, are as district needs. But I can pick all of that up and I can take that over to my district where it's Dr. Antonio Jones, who's my council member, and I live off of the Rose Hill Road area, and we've got stormwater concerns over there. We've got aging neighborhoods that we had off of MacArthur Road. You remember that, Mr. Williams, all the work that we did to clean up, this is not a rural mobile home parks, but people we're paying for the privilege of living in places that were not safe and sanitary for them. And so the city stepped in. So while it may appear that there are district issues, and there are, they're also replicated across the city. And so the council members raise that as an issue. I know one of the ones that you and I talk about, I think Applecross is in your your district.
It is.
And so you're going to see from the city of Fayetteville over the next couple of months that we've got to figure out how we go into some of these private neighborhoods that have private streets that are not being maintained by anyone. And it's now impeding the value of the properties which are there. It's impacting the residents. And most importantly to us, it's also impacting our ability to service them with trash trucks and public service for fire and police and other things like that. And these people have invested in the communities, but no fault of their own. Sometimes they're second, third generation owners. No one has maintained these private streets. We were over off of
Bunch Road?
Off Rayford Road, where we went where the folks had the cul-de-sac that no one had maintained most recently over behind.
Yeah, I got you.
I remember,
Tunbridge.
Yes. it shocked me. It was like, I mean, I drive around the city all the time, and you pass by what you think are some very affluent areas, and you pull in some of these subdivisions, and there's a beautiful house that had to easily be 3,000 square feet that had been abandoned. The owner had died, and his children hadn't taken it over. Then you go and you see a pothole in the street. And so the needs are always there. And so what may start off as a district issue, when we start working on those problems, or those issues in developing programs, we realize that it's a need across the entire city. So how does that then translate into something we put in the budget? It's something we put in the budget because then we have to make sure, as Councilman McNair said, that it's equitable. One of the big ones that we've had over the last couple of years, probably 5 or 6, have been neighborhoods that have one way in and one way out.
Right.
And so you end up during an emergency situation or during a hurricane where people either isolated, can't get out of their neighborhoods. So we did a study across the entire city, and we came up with a list of all of the neighborhoods that had one way in and one way out. And then we had to rank them, and we're working on that list. And now there's a little bit of tension across the city as to why is this neighborhood moving forward when this one isn't on the top of the list. And right now in our budget, recommended budget to the city council, which is part of the tax rate increase, we have additional resources for that, which is one way in and one way out. But again, it started as a district issue for one neighborhood, and that neighborhood may have been Rayconda.
I was going to mention Rayconda and Kings Grant.
And Kings Grant, but we
Right.
also have several that go off of council member or Mayor Pro Tem Derek Thompson, not just Rayconda, but I can't remember the name of the street that he's talking about as well. But we have a whole list of all of those. And again, what starts as a district issue, we have to replicate that across the entire city.
Sure. Well, I have a question. So now, I'm familiar with legislative budgets, okay? So what they do in Raleigh is, let's say somebody wants to introduce a bill. The speaker is going to send it to, when they all vote it in, then he sends it to a committee. But if it has something to do with money, and every bill, I mean, any kind of money, whether it's revenue generating or it costs the citizens, what they do is they got 2 committees, finance and appropriations.
Right.
So I don't care how great of an idea you have, if it doesn't get past finance and appropriations, you know, it's not coming back and it's not going to ever become a law or whatever. How do you all do that? I mean, you know, because I imagine that some of the ideas that the council has probably might be revenue generating.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rather than costing us, they might come up with something that, you know, could bring the money. Let's say, like Councilman McNair, she wants to see a park here. Mm-hmm. You know, what's the kind of park they call them? Trying to say, you know,
a family entertainment
theme park. A theme park,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So something like that certainly would be on the surface look like that would be revenue generating.
Absolutely.
Not something that will cost us. I'm just wondering, you know, how does that process work? I know you guys have to work with economic development people and all that, but kind of put me in the
Right.
mindset or the mind of making something like that happen.
Well, I'm going to throw it to Jeff and with an easy toss so he doesn't fumble. And Jeff, can you talk about where your family was planning to go in the Charlotte area, and you know what happened to that most recently, and then talk about the council member requests.
Sure. So what Dr. Hewitt's referring to is my family is into amusement parks and theme parks, as you mentioned. So we were going to head over to Carowinds for the weekend, but got rained out. In fact, my son wants to design roller coasters, so he's studying engineering so he can design roller coasters. But to your point, there's the city process is a little different than the state and federal legislative process. In those cases, you have the executive branch and you have the legislative branch, where the governor proposes a budget and the legislature takes that on and they kind of negotiate back and forth. Well, in a council manager form of government, the only legislative group is the council. And under statute, the manager, while he's the chief administrative officer of the organization, unlike the president or governor, he is statutorily required to give that budget to council, and then they get to vote on it. So that process and the way that we process council member requests is first throughout the year. Any council member can put a council member request on. And I believe it's at our work sessions, they can have 10 minutes now to talk about their request, and the council can take an initial consensus vote to move it on to more research or to stop it and not have that conversation. And they do that. So we collect all that information. We also go through what we refer to as our parking lot. As we go through the operating budget process and we kind of walk the council through the policy implications and the discussion, for instance, last week we talked about transit and we talked about our downtown. What do we want those to be? We kind of build up a list of projects that are of particular interest. Councilman Davis, for instance, was interested in a downtown manager. Councilman Hare was interested in additional improvements along Langdon Street. So we put that all on the list, and eventually in the next week or so, council will come down to that list, and they'll negotiate amongst themselves, no different than they do at the state level, going back and forth between all the elected officials to figure out to what extent they want to do these things, what their willingness is to pay. But what we try to do for council is to lay that out as a policy issue. And as Dr. Hewitt and as Councilwoman McNair mentioned, what we see in our communities is about policy, not about money. So the money will be the money. Math is always math, right? 2 + 2 will always equal 4. But where you want to take your community and where you want to improve your community and what those council members are seeing, what we're seeing and talking to the residents on a daily basis, those micro interactions, whether it's builders in the lobby, our trash folks out there picking up trash, listening to the residents, walking around the neighborhood. I'm a resident, Doug's a resident. We are in touch with our community and the council is in touch with the community. So we really talk about those policy issues. And then we try to look at how do we fund those and what are those priorities. But the council will, coming back full circle, as we wrap up the budget process here in the next week or so, the council is going to debate those specific items that they either want to add or take out. And there's been some discussion about the tax rate recommended. If the council is not happy with that tax rate or wants to do something different, then it's on them at this point to be able to say, what do we want to do different? What services do we not want to do? What services do we want to do? But that'll be the legislative process. So it's a little different than going to committee. If you could think about it, the council in and of itself represents the committees, the executive, and the legislative body as a whole, because it's those 10 individuals that will debate that and then ultimately provide us our direction, and we'll ultimately vote on it.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. I got about a minute before the top of the break, mid-morning break. But I like that. If we could come back, Councilman McNair, because I think some ideas come forth, and they know that in some other places they have public-private partnerships, which would negate the, we're dealing with OPM, other people's money. That's likable because it puts less of a burden on the taxpayer. And I think what bothers some people is that when some legislative leaders, even down to the city and the county level, they just only think about the money that comes from inside of people's pockets. When we can be looking at trying to create public-private partnerships, like building stuff, and I got into that big time when we were talking about the thing downtown, because you travel around the state, the Tangier thing up in Winston-Salem, all of that, that's like, a lot of private money inside of that. And, I guess, those kinds of things will play a part too. And if you guys could explain how that works as well, and Councilmember McNair can give her perspective on that. But look, we're going to go to a break, come back. Councilmember Brenda McNair, City Council Manager, the City Manager, Dr. Doug Hewitt, and Mr. Yates, his assistant. We'll be back for more.
President Donald Trump honored fallen service members during a Memorial Day ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. An annual Memorial Day tradition took place in Raleigh on Monday, where participants gathered to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Kyle Busch's passing has sent shockwaves through the racing community as well as some in the medical industry. Busch died from severe pneumonia that progressed into sepsis. 100 deadliest days of summer runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day. According to AAA, nearly half of all teen driver fatalities happen during this time. Low water levels in Falls Lake and other lakes across North Carolina continue to rise. They raise concerns among boaters and lake goers and also water facilities in North Carolina. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Manaselli, WIDU Radio News. The North Carolina Department of Transportation will temporarily close a section of King Road beginning May 27th for construction of a new roundabout near the future Rockfish Village Shopping Center. That closure is set to remain in place through early July. Drivers are encouraged to use King Road, Mesquite Drive, and Stony Point Road as a detour during construction. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office says 39-year-old Lindsay Pascal of Lillington has been identified as the victim of the homicide that occurred on May 25th in the wooded area at the end of Burrow Drive in Fayetteville. Her next of kin has been notified. Arrested and charged is 47-year-old Dominic Smith of Fayetteville, charged with first-degree murder. Smith was processed at the Cumberland County Detention Center and held on a denied bond. If you have any information about the investigation, you are asked to call the Sheriff's Office at 910-677-5463. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Manaselli.
Another day with some of the most humid air of 2026 so far. That is going to lead to the chance for scattered afternoon and evening storms with high temperatures well into the 80s prior to the development of some of those showers and storms. Overnight lows, they'll drop into the upper 60s and lower 70s because of the humidity in place. And by Wednesday, well into the 80s once again, fewer storms compared to Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center. Another day with some of the most humid air of 2026 so far. That is going to lead to the chance for scattered afternoon and evening storms with high temperatures well into the 80s prior to the development of some of those showers and storms. Overnight lows, they'll drop into the upper 60s and lower 70s because of the humidity in place. And by Wednesday, well into the 80s once again, fewer storms compared to Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Hi, I'm Mitch Colvin, president of Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. For over 50 years, our family has provided professional services with dignity, compassion, and respect with families during a time of need. We realize funeral services are as unique as those we're honoring. We offer a variety of affordable, quality services tailored to meet each family's needs, specializing in burial and cremation services. Proudly servicing Cumberland, Robeson, Hope, Harnett, Bladen, and surrounding counties from 2 locations, 2010 Murchison Road, Fayetteville, 1904 Elizabethtown Road, Lumberton. For more information, visit our website, www.hmcolvin.com.
You have always put others before yourself. Put your country above all else. Given everything you can, every time. Now it's time to forge a new path. At Fayetteville State University, we believe your service is our debt. So we're offering free military family tuition. Yes, absolutely free. And with new programs like cybersecurity, anything really can happen. Fayetteville State University. Are you in?
It's one of life's simplest comforts. Turning on the tap and knowing clean, safe water's there. A glass before bed, a warm shower in the morning, water to cook, clean, and care for loved ones. So often, it's something that can be taken for granted. But behind every drop is a commitment to quality, safety, and service. At Fayetteville PWC, providing award-winning water is more than a service. It is a responsibility and a point of pride. Delivering clean, reliable water remains a top priority for Fayetteville and surrounding communities every single day, because clean water supports healthy families, strengthens neighborhoods, and helps communities thrive today and for generations to come. Discover more about the difference quality water makes at faypwc.com. Fayetteville PWC, always there, always on, always built to serve.
And we're back now for the second half hour here inside of the morning drive. When we left before, Councilmember McNair, I was talking about that. When you all are discussing things and people are bringing ideas in, because I know you all go on these, I call them adult field trips, conferences, and you encounter people.
Hard work, Troy, hard work.
I understand. But you encounter individuals from other places that are doing things that appear to be attractive. And there's nothing wrong with you all bringing those ideas back, saying, can we do this? Because I ran into this guy from Des Moines, Iowa, and he had a good idea, and I think that might work here in Fayetteville. Because that happens sometimes, right?
Oh, yes, all the time. When we travel, we intentionally look for new adventures to bring back to Fayetteville. I do anyway, because the training to me is very valuable, and I can always go into these trainings and bring something back that will benefit the city of Fayetteville. I get excited. We don't go just to have fun. We have to, relax a little bit, Troy. But however, it's very intense. Classes all day long, the entire time that we're there, until we have an opportunity to gather together with the whole conference. We truly enjoy that. But however, you mentioned before the break, private-public partnership. And you also mentioned a theme park, which Jeff elaborated on. And our city manager, we was talking, had small talk while we were on break. But however, when I look at a theme park, it's not a theme park such as Carowinds or either Disney World of that nature. That's kind of huge. It's kind of broad. Then also, we're living in a different time now, and we have indoor theme parks, which is okay, but most people like to hang outside. You mentioned the Dogwood Festival. I like that idea, but however, I am willing to step back and listen to the professionals about something of this nature. I really do. You also mentioned that the city could benefit greatly from not the taxes, but hotels, bringing in folk from other cities and things of that nature. But however, it does require a private-public partnership. Am I correct, Jeff? To bring something of that nature to Fayetteville. But however, if we dream in 2026, we can have something different like Star Wars or something like that. You know how Star Wars is different, a different movie, like Michael Jackson has this different movie now. It's a little different. It's not like the traditional type things that we're used to. So being a visionary, I will have to bring the whole group in so that we can dream a little differently to make this happen. I do believe it's going to happen. It's not going to happen the way it happened in the past. We always, we learn from the past, but we can also grow from the past as well. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Jeff?
Sure. And thank you, Councilwoman McNair. I think the important part when we talk about public-private partnerships is the role the public plays. And talking about whether it's a hotel, destination retail and commercial, or destination entertainment, what's the public purpose? So when we talk about those things, it's creating a fertile environment that brings the private investment to the city. And you do that by things like building the parking deck, building a stadium. For instance, the city made a major investment a few years ago to bring the Woodpeckers to town, and that's a public-private partnership. So as we look at these things and we talk about destination entertainment, whether that's a family entertainment amusement center or a full-blown amusement park, the public part of that would be the infrastructure, the roads, the sewer, stormwater, all those different things. So when we talk about how do we do those and how do we get public-private partnerships done, it is through looking at the public investment and creating a fertile environment, and then finding that partner. And we find that partner by going out and we use our economic community development folks, the FCEDC. They go out and try to find those partners for us. So, and it really all starts with the council setting that vision, going to these conferences, talking to residents, and finding out what do people want in their community, and then we look at how do we make that ground fertile so that those public-private partnerships come in, and it's not the city building an entertainment center. It's the city maybe building the street in front of the entertainment center such that that developer then gets to build that facility, and then the whole community benefits from that. So it's really important, and I want to be sure that everybody understands when we talk about destination entertainment or those kinds of things, it's really about that partnership and the public investment side, that's what the city would invest in. We're not going to build a hotel,
Yes.
but we may, participate in the infrastructure to build it. Or when we look at economic development projects and we give grants or those things, those grants are to provide jobs and infrastructure. They're not to buy that for that company or to that private benefit. It's really all for that public benefit. Dr. Hood, I don't know, do you have something else you'd like to add to that?
No, I think, Jeff, you really hit it. And the other thing we do is we have to make sure that we are, as Troy mentioned, we're understanding that we're dealing with other people's money, whether it's the private investor or on our side, the public's money. And so we want to make sure we do our due diligence. So a lot of great ideas that we have, as Councilman McNair said, we come up with great ideas, probably 3 or 4 before noon every day.
That's right.
And then you start figuring out, who's going to pay for it. There was a whole idea that we're going to have a trolley that's going to run back and forth from downtown to Fort Bragg every weekend to bring the military members who are on post downtown so they can get back and forth very, very comfortably. Do you know how much it costs per mile for rail tracks? Just look in Charlotte, look in Raleigh, these places that have the resources that we can't even imagine at the moment the cost of that. And so quickly, well, what about a public-private partnership? Well, the feasibility was not there because, again, you can spend the money, but you'll get maybe, half a mile? It was a couple $1 million per mile. So then we had to have other great ideas. And we want to put in a hotel at the airport. So for our business travelers, well, with Uber now, by the time you land at the airport, if you need to spend overnight, you're 5 minutes away and you're at a hotel near the hospital, you're over near the mall, or you're back downtown. So is there a need for us to find a private partner right now who's willing to invest $25 or $30 million? Possibly if you have meeting space there, and if you listen to Mayor Colvin and some other things he's talking about, which is making it a cargo destination where people fly in, do business there, they do cargo, and then fly back out like an inland airport of sorts. But again, you've got to find that private partner. So how do we vet those? Quite often people lament the fact that we have to do studies. We have to spend $15,000 on this, $20,000 on that. And the county, as we talked about during the break, has most recently worked with EDC to update a prior study they had about the meeting space in hotel downtown. And I'm told that was about $20,000 or $30,000. Having looked at it but not read it in depth, I'd probably say that was money well spent. Because again, if you're trying to attract someone who's going to spend $30, $40, $50, $60 million, it's going to be a partner with you where you're going to donate the land, and they're going to bring the money, and it's going to be publicly, could fail, and again, other people's money at risk. The governing board needs to make sure that they have vetted that private partner, they vetted the idea, and that's something too that quite often people don't see that all happens by. We've got great ideas, but sometimes we start putting pen to paper and we start looking at it, you've got to make sure it makes sense, it's feasible, doable, and then we have in North Carolina an additional layer. Not only what I want to do or the council wants to do, and we've got to get it past our friends at the LGC. Then we've also got to make sure that the city attorney says it's a function that the government and local government in North Carolina can actually do. So the public's purse is protected. But still, there are times that things get by us. The parking garage across from City Hall, we did everything correct, but the COVID happened and our private partners slowed down. But I'm happy to report I'll be signing that assignment for that project to restart hopefully here in the next week or so, so that we hopefully will start seeing construction above the parking garage in the next probably 6 months or so. So again, sometimes you have to always vet the projects, you have to vet your partners, you have to be patient, but you also have to have the vision, as Councilman McNair started. Without a vision, come on, Pastor.
People perish.
There we go.
Troy perishes. Anyway, look, but during the break, I misspoke. I was talking about the September 2021 feasibility study on the event center, not the
Most
incoming
recently.
thing. Now, I asked about that. Chairman Devier and I discussed that, and he said that there was probably some proprietary things in that they're not willing to share with the public yet. And so I have not seen that one. But these things got to be true now, because the one that I was talking about that was in 2021, they had inside of there that they bring military people in town every weekend for events, and that's not true. That's what I'm saying. So, I don't know who did it, but, sometimes people want to embellish things a little bit to get what they want. And so I'm just saying that was the one I was looking at. It had that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, let's tell the truth. There's no need of saying all that, okay? But, I was thinking about, we talking about Uber. I wonder why some of these hotels don't have a van, as in, a lot of airports you go there and you see there's a van waiting to take you to a particular hotel or something like that.
I'm sure that some of the ones, particularly around the mall, the larger properties, do have vans. I've been out as far as, exit 49, which is not that far if you actually take 95 to the airport. If you call and schedule a ride, they probably will do that. But again, this is such a walkable, drivable community easily. You walk across a short parking lot, you pick up your rental car keys, it's $45 a day, keep it for 2 days, you hadn't even spent good $100, and you have access to your own private car if you want a rental, or you jump in an Uber for probably $20 to get somewhere around town. That's a lot more expensive. It might be a second career choice for us now. If we, because we like to talk to folks, so we could probably be ambassadors for folks. But Doug's Uber service, that might be a whole new career line for us.
Whatever. Councilman McNair.
Yeah, actually, Troy, thank you for those questions. I want to kind of elaborate on City Council strategic plan priorities. I think did you hit on that yet already?
No, ma'am.
Can we hit on that before we leave? Because that's very, very important. I would like for one of either or. I don't know which one I want to
we'll
go first. I want you guys to tackle that because I can put my own priorities there. Right. But it wouldn't come out quite right. So,
right. Well, one of the things that we kind of stumbled onto, it was the idea that I had about getting more out in the community, and we called that Doug in the District. That wasn't really my words, my title.
I like that. That's a good ring to it.
Well, it was.
It pops up every week, so I know where you are.
Yes.
If I'm going to come and get you, I know where you are.
And so the team knows I like theme stuff, but Doug in the District just sounds it's a little out there for me. But anyway, it was a great idea for it. We do community engagement, and we just go around, pop up, talk about whatever's on our mind, and listen really to the public. But Jeff and the team came back and they said, we also want to do a budget exercise. And I'll let them cover that in just a moment and how that plays into the strategic plan priorities. But part of that is if you were to ask 100 people, what is the number one priority of the City Council in Fayetteville? Troy, can you give me two that you think would be, you don't have the list in front of you, we do. What do you think would be two priorities that the City of Fayetteville, City Council, and City Government should focus on?
That I think or that the people might be saying?
You think or that the people think?
You as the public.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that you were going to good fiscal management of our resources.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And keep the city manager there.
No, that's why. What is it? What's the thing about wisdom and age and things like that?
I felt that one coming. I did too. I felt that coming.
We're going. This is hand sanitizer. We may need to get the prayer oil out there here in just a moment. But one of the things that we hear always, and this is true everywhere, is that people need to feel safe in their homes and safe in their environments. And people also want to make sure that we're doing those things which maintain a healthy, wealthy, sustainable city. And that's protecting their assets as well as creating job opportunities for them, and that's through partnerships. And so council developed, in addition to having a mission, vision, goals, core values, and I think it's one other thing that it'll come to me in a moment. They also wanted us to have priority areas. They wanted us to focus on certain areas. And Jeff, can you hit those real quick?
I can. So the as we worked with the council through the strategic planning process, these are the four that kind of were the consensus of the council. Continuing implementing a comprehensive approach to community safety. And when we say comprehensive approach, it involves our community, Office of Community Safety, the police department, the fire department, all the way down to code enforcement and all those other components. Enhance economic growth opportunities throughout the city. So create those opportunities. We talked about creating a fertile environment for development and businesses in our community. Expand housing and neighborhood revitalization and refurbishment efforts with an emphasis on mature neighborhoods and attainable housing needs. So we focus a lot on building new, but how do we stabilize and how do we work with our existing neighborhoods in those more mature areas to continue that revitalization and create an environment that everyone loves? And then finally, improve and expand transportation, transit, and overall connectivity for our residents. And that's not just our bus system, that's sidewalks, streets, traffic systems, moving safely around the city. Sometimes that's catching the speeders, sometimes that's speed humps, even though our fire department would tell you that would involve hurting goal one. But it's just those are all encompassing. So when we put together the budget, kind of tying this back, these are guiding, kind of our North Star, if you will, our guiding principles that we try to achieve and focus on. And anything that's new or anything that's additional to what we normally would do, these are the areas we try to address in that process.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. When city manager asked you the question, as a resident of Fayetteville, what it is that you would like to see your tax dollars go towards, or changes that needs to be made here, and possibly, I'm not going to say Ramsey Street, because Ramsey Street is all right now. So I'm just kidding, Troy. So what is, I thought maybe he was going to talk about community safety, but he did not.
Well,
I was shocked.
I think that's that's always a concern, because I follow the news a lot. It's troubling when I hear of, and it was in the county, but I guess yesterday a lady was killed at a homeless encampment. When I hear about two youngsters robbing a guy on the corner of Robinson and Rayford Road at that store there, the drug store there, and he comes out and he has a gun, and he allows them to take the gun away from him. I'm talking about, I don't know if you remember that story, but I'm like, it's things like that are troubling, that that kind of thing is going on. And I think that it hurts our image. So when you guys are trying to bring people here, they follow that stuff too. You know what I mean? So, I no doubt that people probably come and they get a hotel room or whatever, and they just walk around, and it's not an official visit, but they're looking at what's going on in our community. If it doesn't appear to be safe, that's an issue. And then there are things that you all don't have anything to do with. Our schools, people assess us by that too. So that affects everybody, but that's something that we have a legislative board called the school board, and we have a county commissioners that also supplement money to that. That's their thing, but it's inside of the mix when we start talking about what's going on. As a senior citizen, though, I'm concerned about crime. Yeah, because I don't want to become a victim, because I realize that the older I get, I'm more likely to be victimized by crime, because they target older people, If you're moving slow, or if you're real young, you can wind up being a victim. So, yeah, it's those kinds of things. But, people want fairness. But so far as Ramsey Street, look, that's a drag strip too. You think that it's not, that's just the whole thing. The speeders, and I know that they're cracking down on speeders, and it should, but, and the running lights. Now I'm talking about yesterday. I'm at Ramsey and Santa Fe. And so this guy comes up, man, and I'm looking at him, he's flying, right? And the light changes, and I'm telling you, it was 1001, 1002, 1003, and then he goes through, he just barrels through the light. I see a lot of that, and I don't know how to fix that, but, someone was killed at that light.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? It's just that, and that's the kind of stuff that bothers me because, and people behind you are blowing, bump, 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 get up. Look, I can't help it, the light is green. I'm treating it like a stop sign. I'm looking left and right before I drive out into the traffic because it's dangerous, man.
It is, and City Council has given us direction to reinstitute the red light cameras, which we're working hard to bring those back to Fayetteville. The legislation or the lawsuits that were pending around the state have been now resolved, and it's been determined that those are legal. We know how to split the money between operations and the school board. But to your point, that also are the priorities that the council sets, and we're out talking to the residents. And I just invite folks to come out. We have our budget public hearing. Is it tonight?
Tonight.
Oh my, yeah, at 6:30 at City Hall. To share what they feel their priorities are and how the budget does or doesn't address it. You may not even know what's in the budget, but you can come out to the public hearing tonight and you can share with the council what your priorities are, and then we'll figure out if it's in the budget, and I know the council wants to hear from you. We also have a public forum that will be happening on June 1st at, I think it's 6:30 p.m., where residents are afforded several minutes to come and talk to the council about their priorities. And if you really want to touch me, you can come out this Thursday at 6 o'clock at 1420 Hoke Loop Road, where we'll be doing another Doug in the District at New Life Bible Church for District 8. And I hope to see everybody there at tonight's public forum and public hearing on the budget, or next week. Is that June 1st already?
It is a week from yesterday.
Whoa. It's just backing up on us. But that's how people share their budget and their strategic plan priorities with the council and with me. And I think that when people take a look at the budget as the council has done, they can understand where the budget fits the bill, why certain things are in. But ultimately now the budget belongs to the council, and we stand ready to support them as they figure out what they want to include, what they want to take out, and of course ultimately what the tax rate will be to fund that.
Sure. Well, look, our time is running out, so we have, again, we've had today Dr. Doug Hewitt, City Manager, Jeff Yates, his assistant, and we'll give the last minute to City Council Member Brenda McNair.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Also want to thank our city manager, our awesome city manager, and our assistant city manager, Jeff Yates. It has been a pleasure serving on council with you guys, and I look forward to continue to do that for the next term that I have, hopefully a term after that. But however, I want to give thanks to the audience for listening, and make sure that you stay tuned on tonight. Chime in on this budget briefing, and to make sure that your input is also stated. It's very, very important.
Sure. Our time is up, out of here, but look, we appreciate you so much. I want your son to check out the indoor stuff. My daughter lives in South Florida, and she took me to this thing during the area of Fort Lauderdale, where everything is inside of a kind of a metal building. Man, that thing is awesome. Now, you know, they got a little more money down there than we do up here, so it's a little pricey to get in there. But it's just, you know, have me check that out.
I will. Thank you.
We out of here. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.